What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I am a fight guy, a Forbes contributor, and I'm also writing for Heavy.com. And we're going to talk UFC 249 today, main card. We are presented by Bet Online and powered by Fight TV. If you want to see any of the other UFC 249 odds, preview, and prediction pieces, make sure you click in the upper right corner of the screen. You can see the card there, and you'll be able to see all of my previews for this particular card. Let's look at this. Henry Cejudo defending the UFC Men's Bantamweight Championship against two-time Men's Bantamweight Champion Dominick Cruz. Looking at these odds, we got Henry Cejudo minus 209 favorite, and Dominick Cruz, who has not fought in 4 years, almost 4 years, is the plus 179 underdog. This is an interesting fight. Obviously, originally this was supposed to be Henry Cejudo against Jose Aldo. That couldn't take place. Just chalk that one up to more of the COVID-19 complications. But as we have it now, Dominick Cruz is trying to become the first man ever to win the bantamweight championship 3 times. As a matter of fact, there's only one guy, one fighter in UFC history who has ever won a title 3 different times. That's Randy Couture. He's a 3-time heavyweight champion. And while we're doing UFC history, he's also a 2-time light heavyweight champion. That's a lot of reason why a lot of people say Randy Couture is the greatest of all time. But at any rate, we digress. Let's jump into this particular matchup. Looking at the most recent action for Cejudo and Dominick Cruz, few people are on a roll like Henry Cejudo is. He was obviously he's holding the bantamweight title now. He was a champ because he had the flyweight title before he had to vacate that one earlier this year. Looking at the role of fighters that he has beaten over his last 5 is really impressive. We got Wilson Hayes, Sergio Pettis, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Even though I did score that fight for Demetrius, still technically Cejudo gets the victory. TJ Dillashaw and Marlon Moraes. I was actually cage side for the fight against Marlon Moraes there in press row. I'm going to tell you, early on in that fight, I thought Moraes was going to give him that work, but Cejudo called his inner Wolverine and came back like he had animanium in him, and it was just an amazing performance. I thought you might have been one of those performances you had to actually be there to truly appreciate, because he looked after that first round like Moraes was going to be on his way, and it was just a dramatic shift. And it seemed like Henry hit another gear, and Moraes just couldn't keep up. So he's looking fantastic. Now, Dominick Cruz injuries have really, for the most part, really robbed him of quite a bit of time over the last 5 to 7 years of his career. So it's really kind of been a shame. He's still only 34 years old, but he hasn't fought since 2016. He is one of the all-time greats, but you got to wonder how much he does still have left in the tank. And then you also have to consider the fact that after being out for 4 years, you're coming back to fight Cejudo in a fight that's taking place in the midst of a global pandemic. So I don't know who that's going to have a positive or negative or no effect at all on, but it is something that you have to talk about. Well, let's look at the stats and the styles. Dominick is going to have a height advantage, a length advantage over Cejudo, which is something that Cejudo's got to be used to dealing with. He's only 5'4". Dominick Cruz is 5'8", and Cruz also has a 4-inch reach advantage. When we start looking at those, some of the striking metrics, and you start to see Dominick Cruz, his movement is really his best attribute. He's really tough to connect with. He throws strikes from all angles. He has 74% striking defense. That's probably one of the most impressive numbers that you're going to find, alluding 74% striking. That's pretty significant. So that automatically is going to create the biggest impediment for Cejudo, is simply being able to connect with him. That's something right there. Cruz is not all that accurate from a number standpoint. He only lands 31% of his shots. Cejudo's landing 44%, but then again, you got to remember they're not fighting each other all the time. So a lot of times in those instances, the numbers can go out of the window, but you still need to kind of take them into consideration. Now, Cejudo's not really bad at slipping shots or making guys miss either. He has a 65% striking defense, which is kind of is really strong, especially when you consider Cejudo is a really big head. So a lot of times guys with larger heads, their head movement isn't as good. It's a larger target for fighters to swing at. But 65% striking defense is pretty strong. Let's look at the takedown area, right? Now, Cejudo is a Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling. So you would assume that most times he's going to have the edge on the ground, and that probably would be the case. But his takedown accuracy hasn't been as good as you might think. 35% takedown accuracy, 50% for Cruz. Now, Cruz does like to stand, but you can't sleep on his grappling skills. A lot of times people overlook them because of how well he moves, but it's pretty significant. And that might tell you why if you look at him with takedowns, he's securing over three takedowns per 15 minutes. So while that movement is happening, he will drop a takedown attempt on you, and you're gonna have to have decent takedown defense to stop him. So Hudo does have that in addition to actually securing two or a little bit over two takedowns per 15 minutes himself. But he thwarts 90% of the takedown attempts attempted against him. So this is a fight that I'm wondering if it does go to the ground, how does it get there? Because both guys are good at stopping the takedowns. They're both decent at obviously getting the takedowns because Cejudo is still an Olympic level wrestler. I know those numbers don't scream he's fantastic at it, but he's physically strong. He's lower to the ground. His shot should be more effective, but it's really hard to get Dominick in a position to take him down, which would be why his takedown defense is so high. So I don't know if this fight does in fact go to the ground. I think that the result of this co-main event, and all of this is assuming that Dominick Cruz is the Dominick Cruz that we have seen before, which is a big if, right? But it comes down to Cruz's mental and physical fitness. If he's at the top of his game, I do believe that he can beat Cejudo. I know that's going against the odds, but I believe he can beat him. The speed, the movement, his octagon IQ, all of that creates a really formidable package. And I think it could create problems for a shorter, a little bit more deliberate of a striker in Cejudo. I know that there are some really serious question marks about Cruz in this comeback. I know I'm going out on a limb with this, but I am actually going to pick Dominick Cruz to spring this upset. As great as Cejudo is, I still think that his best weight class is flyweight. I expect Cruz to cause him some problems with his movements and to stop any takedowns or to stop enough of the takedowns to still maintain control of the fight. And I have Dominick Cruz regaining the bantamweight championship and winning the fight by unanimous decision. We'll see. Perhaps I'm wrong. It is definitely a close fight, a tough one to call. But I'm banking this on Dominick Cruz being ready to fight after being out for 4 years. I never questioned Dominick Cruz's mental strength, his toughness. This guy has been through tons already just to even still want to fight. I mean, just think about it. Dominick Cruz is a commentator for the UFC. He's won some championships. He's been smart, in terms of setting up different things away from the octagon. The dude loves the sport. He wants to continue to do it. And we'll see if that will is stronger than the actual body and he folds against Cejudo. But I'm picking him to win. So we'll see what happens on Saturday, May the 9th. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.